All right, so welcome to another episode and another conversation with Suzanne Muldowney. And today is a special day, anniversary, and I'm going to let you explain what that is, Suzanne.
It was on today's date in 1980 that I first performed Underdog in public.
Okay, and then where was that?
Philadelphia.
Okay, so do you want to explain what the event was? You didn't just decide to show up in the middle of a street somewhere, right?
No. 2 days before, I read in the newspaper that there was a science fiction and comic book convention going on, and one of the activities was going to be a costume contest.
Okay, so you decided to enter?
Yes, well, I had wanted to go back to Underdog for quite some time. I stopped doing him when I was a teenager, confined to my bedroom in 1968. I wanted to do him again, and then this costume competition was the open door.
Okay, and you couldn't do them because your parents forbade you to do Underdog?
Yeah.
Okay, was there a reason why they didn't want you to do it?
Well, I knew since I was a bit older when I discovered him that Underdog was fictional, but my parents didn't give me the benefit of the doubt. They were convinced that I thought he was for real, and they gave me an awful time about fantasy versus reality, as though fantasizing is evil. And yet, look at how many parents brainwash their children into believing in fictional characters like Santa Claus, the Tooth Fairy, the Sandman, the Easter Bunny, etc., 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 and then later turn the tables saying, the heck with fantasizing, you should be concerned with reality only.
So you did try to explain to them that this was not something you believed was real, but you just wanted to dance, but they just didn't buy it?
Yes. See, one important thing that I did, which I never explained to my parents because I was too afraid to, was that I didn't believe that I was Underdog. I imagined that I was a dancer performing in a theater, before a live audience, and that there were additional people with me playing the other parts in any one story.
I see. And so, well, that could have helped, it could have hurt, I guess, because if you explained that you didn't believe you were actually Underdog, but a dancer portraying Underdog, I guess that would be very helpful for your cause. But imagine
my father was very narrow-minded. One mention of the name Underdog, and he would fly into a rage.
Okay, well, do you have any clue why?
Because he thought that I thought Underdog was real.
And you never tried to explain to him that you didn't?
About the strictly the theatrical version.
Right.
Yeah, no, I could never explain that to either of my parents.
Just because you're afraid, or did you even try?
Well, when I saw how hostile my father was to my taking on the part of Underdog at all, I was too afraid because he was always very short-tempered. I speak more of my father than of my mother because my mother was occupied so much with household duties. My father was freer to wander around the house and call anyone out or barge in into anyone's business that he felt like.
Let's see. But you had a couple of siblings, right? Growing up.
What?
You had a couple of siblings growing up, right? Your family was fairly large.
I had three brothers.
Okay. Now, did they get the same treatment from your dad, or just you?
Well, they did not go for Underdog. They went for other things, but my father always found some way to to bug them about whatever they were interested in.
But not to the same extent as you with the Underdog.
I don't think so.
Mm-hmm. Now, did you react in the same way when you did Supergirl, or no?
Well, by that time I was in my own place, so I was living on my own then. So they had no right to infringe on my performing business.
I see. But when you stopped doing Underdog, you did Dracula, correct?
When I stopped doing Underdog as a teenager, I had nothing for a while. But I started on Dracula in 1973.
Were you still living at home back then, or no?
Yes.
So how did they feel about Dracula?
Awarded. In 1976, it was the 500th anniversary of the historical Dracula's death, and I was determined to go public with him that year for that occasion. When I got a booking in a Philadelphia summertime weekday entertainment series called 76 Days of Fun, then I was so scared. I called my parents down and told them what I was going to do, and they were outraged. Well, they didn't know the first thing about Vlad the Impaler, and when I explained it to them, they bawled me out for having researched a bloodthirsty tyrant.
So they didn't like that either?
No.
Okay, did they like anything you did?
I'm trying to think. I think they liked Catwoman a bit. I didn't start doing her until quite some time later.
Okay. Any reason that they like that but not the other character?
Well, Catwoman is a wicked character, but somehow she's treated with more dignity and respect than the average real or fictional criminal.
I see. So there's not a lot of logic to why they liked something and they didn't like something else.
There's a lot of logic to what?
To your parents' tastes in characters.
Yes.
Okay, well, let's go back to the 40th anniversary. So what did you do in Philadelphia?
Well, I said I read in the newspaper that there was a comic book and science fiction convention going on, and one of its activities was going to be a costume contest, and that was my open door to do Underdog. I asked were contestants encouraged to bring music or do special presentations whenever it was their turns, and I was told yes. Now my costume at that time was a red mini dress. I didn't have the white U on the chest. I had skin-colored tights and a sheer medium-length cape.
Okay, so your costume didn't evolve, I should say, into what it became later yet.
That's right.
Okay, so what happened in the contest?
Well, there were a couple of people in the audience who were acting rude to me. They said Underdog was bottom of the barrel because they were aware of how the original series was silly and comic and campy, like the Batman live action TV series.
I see.
So my very first time as Underdog in public, and already I was being teased and degraded.
And that pattern continued to today, I guess, right?
No, I haven't been teased and made fun of, but I was seriously degraded 28 years ago.
Was that the Stern Show?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Well, as far as the original contest went, there weren't that many attendees. I didn't get very much applause, and I won nothing.
Okay, so how did that first experience make you feel? How did that first experience of doing Underdog in public how did that make you feel?
I was very sad at not winning anything. I should think that at that time Underdog hadn't been rerun in quite some time. I should think that the audiences would enjoy seeing him again in live, not animated.
Let's see, but you don't think that was quite unusual choice for the character, because most of those conventions are focused on bigger superheroes that are not comical in nature.
There was only one other contestant that first time that dressed up as a recognizable superhero, or should I say superheroine. It was a woman dressed as Sue Richards of the Fantastic Four.
I see. So that
most of the others were self-made creatures, or just an excuse for putting on grotesque makeup and acting silly.
Okay, so what did the judges tell you? Anything? Like, how many judges were there? Was that a big contest?
I don't think there were more than 10 entries.
Okay. And then any feedback from the judges?
The judges didn't say anything to me.
Oh, okay. Do you remember if they rated those 10 contestants, or they just the top 3 and that was it?
There were just the top 3.
So you're disappointed with that outcome, and then you decided to stick with it?
Yes.
Why would you stick with something that didn't get a lot of positive feedback?
Because it was the first time I had done it, and I felt if I kept doing it in time, the public would appreciate it.
So you're pretty persistent with that. You're still doing it today.
Well, I haven't done him in a comic book or science fiction convention for, I think almost 20 years now.
Oh, really?
Well, more than 20 years.
Is there a reason why you don't do that anymore?
Um, most of the conventions I went to were run by the same company, Creation. They were headquartered in suburban New York State, but they mounted conventions in key cities all over the United States.
And
Almost every weekend they would be somewhere. Sometimes they mounted 2 conventions on the same weekend in different sites.
but why? What's the reason for not doing them?
I don't hear from them anymore. I'm positive they went out of business.
Oh, I see. But there are the conventions. There's a lot of comic book conventions.
Yes, there are. Now, I did go to some that were held just once a year by the company headquartered in a specific site.
Okay, so what else is important about this 40th anniversary? Because you wanted to do an episode on it. And
excuse me?
What else was important about 40th anniversary, since you wanted to do a little, episode for the podcast and talk about it, and it seemed like it was a pretty disappointing experience. So why honor something like that?
Because humankind has always lauded a great number of first-timers, whether they were successful or failure, and they choose to keep alive. You know how many months, how many years it's been since that first time.
Would you consider that first time a failure?
No.
Well, what do you consider it?
A first of its kind that was not fully appreciated.
Okay, that was the first one in public. But when did you do it for the first time ever?
Oh, that was that was January 8th, 1966.
Okay, so that's 54 years ago.
Yes.
Wow. And how did that happen?
How did what happen?
That first time you decided to do it.
Well, 2 of my brothers watched Underdog. They weren't infatuated with him, but they just enjoyed seeing him, just for recreation's sake. But I would come in on the tail end of every show because a program that I wanted to see was the next in the lineup. But curiosity got the better of me, and I began watching Underdog more and more. And then when I saw this Dennis the Menace comic book, one of the stories had the snobbish girl neighbor Margaret doing ballet steps. Dennis looked at them and felt those steps made her look supernatural, phenomenal. So dance movements were the official way, in terms of dance, of making fictional characters appear to fly under their own power.
Was Dennis the Menace the show that you watched that came after Underdog?
No, the episode I said that was in a Dennis the Menace comic book.
Oh, comic book. Okay, what was the show after Underdog?
I forget.
Okay. So what did you do? You realized the Margaret was doing the dance moves, and then you decided to do Underdog as a dancer? Like, what was the thinking process, if you can remember that?
I wanted to do Underdog because I discovered his basics. Like Superman, he was able to fly, but I couldn't figure out how was I going to be able to stay airborne right away, or how was I going to convince any onlooker or myself that I was flying. Then I discovered this story in the Dennis the Menace comic book, the use of dance steps, and I figured that was the way. And I took my first formal dance lesson in the fall of 1965.
Okay, so that first time you did your dance as Underdog, where did you do it?
You mean the very first time I did it, when I had to keep it secretive?
Well, no, the first time ever. Did you do it in front of your family, by yourself? Like, first time you did it, how did that happen?
I was alone and locked in my bedroom.
When you say locked, you mean actually locked, or just the door was closed?
I closed the door and locked it.
Oh, okay. So you did your dance, but you kept it a secret from anyone.
Yeah, but my family, my parents said, "Oh, we know everything that's going on." All the time I did Underdog in my early to mid-teens. I always did it privately in my bedroom.
I see. So no one knew you were doing this?
Hmm?
So nobody knew that you were doing this?
They knew that I was doing it, but they didn't barge in when I was engaged in a quasi performance.
How did they discover that you're doing it?
Well, I never talked the character. Anybody walking down the hall past my bedroom would hear music and hear me making footsteps, but I never spoke.
Okay, but did your dad open the door one day and saw you in an outfit doing it, or like how did your family find out?
Well, let's say the clincher happened on Thanksgiving Day, 1965, because that was the first time that the giant helium balloon of him was used in the Macy's Thanksgiving parade, and they didn't just bring the balloon down the street, turn the corner, and that was the end of the route. They built a presentation around
it. Okay, and then.
So when I saw voices being piped in, and this mock drama, I thought I just had to do him. He was being given the red carpet treatment. And Lauren Green, who was one of the commentators, always ushered him in and ushered him out in a very reverential tone of voice.
I see, but you still didn't tell me, when did your family discover you're doing this?
They knew that I had gone head over heels for Underdog, because after I saw that balloon in the Macy's parade, I cried for the rest of the day. I had simply been overwhelmed.
Okay, and then did you dance in front of everyone? I mean, how did they find out?
like I said, anybody might pass my bedroom door and hear music and my taking steps around the room and um, um, uh, come to think that believe that I was doing it.
Okay. Now, did you wear a special outfit when you did that dance, or did you just wear whatever you would wear around the house?
When I was in my room, I did have a costume, but it wasn't anything like the costumes I made when I was older and more skillful in sewing.
Mm-hmm. And what music did you play?
I always used classic music.
Okay, so you didn't play like an Underdog theme or anything like that?
I didn't have it on a phonograph record. All I had was lots of classical music, which I would use as a musical bed for the different stories.
Let's see. And how long did this dancing go on till your parents decided that you shouldn't do it?
2 years. They were they never developed any tolerance for it, and my father especially was always after me to give it up.
Do they feel that you were obsessed with it? Is that the right way to explain it or describe it? That you were obsessed with Underdog?
I don't understand.
Your family believed that you were obsessed with the character.
No.
They didn't?
know that I realized that he was campy and silly, and in my mind was revising the stories to make them more sensible.
But if they were against you doing it, they must have thought that you're either obsessed in an unhealthy way with this character.
I didn't tell them that I revised the stories in my mind to make them more sensible, because they simply wouldn't listen to anything I had to say about him. So I lost heart. I didn't bother saying anything about him, but and I had to, when I kept on with dancing him in my bedroom, but I just had to keep everything private.
Okay, but if you can describe how your parents felt about your interest in Underdog, how would you describe it?
They jumped to the conclusion that I thought that Underdog was real, and I didn't have, and since they wouldn't listen to anything I had to say about him, I was too afraid to tell them. I don't imagine that I'm he. I imagine that I'm a dancer in a theater. I'm doing Underdog, and there are some other actors with me to do the other roles in the stories, or that I was revising the stories to make better sense.
Okay, so they weren't happy with your interests.
They were greatly angered, displeased.
Mm-hmm. How did the rest of the family feel about it?
The rest of my family didn't approve of what I was doing either.
Okay, so all your siblings were against it as well?
Yes.
Okay. Did anyone approve of it at all? Like your aunt or uncle or neighbor?
Um, I never said anything about Underdog to my neighbors. There were no. I had some aunts and uncles, but I didn't see them that often, and I didn't tell them about him.
I see. So you were pretty much on your own.
Yes.
All right. So what else is important about that 40th anniversary? Why are we recording this?
Because over time, I became more skillful at doing the dances, doing him in other media, especially parades. The first time I did Underdog in a parade was 1989. And for special anniversaries, I had the ability to make extra special costumes.
Good. So when was the first appearance of like your Underdog costume the way we know what it looks like, right? Most people are familiar with your costume, but the first time you made one, what year was that?
You mean when it looked more authentic?
Right, when you had the big U, the big blue cape, the boots,
Well, for a long time, I had just a small U on my chest, a red badge with a white U on it. I don't think. I finally graduated to a large sewn-on U in 1986. But the first year that I used a decorated cape was 1984.
Let's see, is that the blue one that sort of the design, the blue with the white lace?
No, it was the cape I'm thinking about came down to about mid-thigh. It was a kind of material that was dark at one end, and as you went down across its width, it grew lighter in the same color from, well, for this one in particular, from real dark blue to light blue.
Yes, see, I don't know if I ever saw that one.
And that was the first time I used lace and stars and similar decorations that people have come to recognize.
Okay. Do you have any photos of that one? Because I don't remember ever seeing that.
I still have some old pictures.
Okay, well, I guess once this lockdown's lifted, maybe I can get a chance to see what that looks like. All right. So how are you dealing with the quarantine? I mean, it's mostly lifted in New Jersey. You're allowed to go places within reason, I guess. Are you doing anything?
Well, I've been watching a lot of television. Now I do have to go out every once in a while to the drugstore or the supermarket or the bank. Every time I'm about to go inside the facility, I put my mask on.
I see, but there's still no parades and none of that stuff.
I haven't done a parade since New Year's Day.
Do you feel that it's a great injustice that, I guess, Governor Murphy is allowing the protests and riots, but not parades?
Did you say Murphy?
Yeah, isn't that the governor from New Jersey?
I don't know. And it wouldn't apply just to it wouldn't apply just to him. Goodness knows how many other states have special occasion parades, especially at Pasadena has the Tournament of Roses. That's always on New Year's Day. New Orleans has parades for Mardi Gras. And some other states that I went to do Underdog and milestone anniversary years had parades or other events for which I went. As far as parades go, there could be thousands of cities and towns nationwide that have at least a few parades at extra special times of year.
All right. So you're hoping that soon enough there'll be some parades?
I'm hoping soon that the quarantine will be lifted enough so that I can start participating in parades again.
All right. So what you were saying in closing?
Well, I feel that I think I've become the living embodiment of Underdog. I'm sure many more people recognize him now than they did when I started. Some people call me Underdog even when I'm doing other roles, other costumes, or even when I'm in just civilian clothes.
Where do you feel you became typecast?
No, I hope not. Do people automatically recall that I do other characters?
Well, usually people see you and then think Underdog, no matter what you're wearing.
Well, that's what's kind of sad about it, because people who do that are intelligent enough. They're certainly mature enough to realize that what I'm wearing is not my Underdog costume, so that he's not the only theme I do.
Okay, so that's what would refer to as typecasting, no? You become associated with that one character more than anything else, and people see you as that. For some events that take place on an annual basis, I'm more diverse. I use a variety of costumes. So when people see me dressed differently, they have to realize that that I have an extensive repertoire. Okay, and then you feel that most of the public doesn't see that.
I'm afraid because of Howard Stern, they think of me only as Underdog, and I will not stand for anybody calling me Underdog Lady or Underdog Woman, because Howard Stern made up those expressions, and anybody who calls me by them gives himself away as having learned it from Stern.
So you don't see any positives to that, the fact that most people actually got to know you because of that show?
No, because it was an X-rated show, and I was jeered, I was mocked, I was cursed, I was denied some jobs or performance opportunities because of it.
So would you rather be not known at all?
I'd rather not be known as, oh, that's the woman who was on Howard Stern. People still ask me that, or years from now, some people who weren't even born at the time I made my appearance come up to me and say, hey, weren't you on the Howard Stern show? And that, so there, they don't even realize I had a certain theme. They know me only as having been on that X-rated show, which I didn't know was X-rated because they didn't give me the facts before I went on it.
So you don't value the amount of exposure they get from appearing in those shows at all?
From Howard Stern, no.
But without that show, most people wouldn't know who you are.
In 2006, I was on a show that's been on maybe just as many years and was more family friendly. Jimmy Kimmel.
Well, I know. We went together, Suzanne. I was with you.
Oh, yes, I remember that.
But what I'm saying, even that appearance is because of the fact that you appeared on the Stern Show.
I'm still ridden with guilt because it was such a vulgar show.
Well, you shouldn't feel guilt. You didn't do anything.
Well, that's not how my parents felt. They were hostile to me for having been on it.
Well, you made an appearance on the nationally syndicated television show, but you didn't do anything that was vulgar or, as you say, immoral or anything like that. You just appeared as yourself. So you don't see any benefits from it at all?
Because I am still judged by the original corruption and degradation of the program, and not for any meritorious performance or theme I might have done.
No, your parents are no longer with us, correct?
No, they both died 7 years ago.
So even after
but still people call me by Howard's nicknames for me, and I told you how people who weren't born at that time are still coming up to me and saying, "Weren't you on Howard Stern?" or "Hey, it's the woman from the Howard Stern show," without any regard or bothering to think about what kind of performance I did or what my theme was.
Okay, so you're never going to get over that one, because now what if your parents are no longer with us, so, but you're still upset with the criticism you received back then. So
I'm still upset with the criticism, but the criticisms and denunciations that they gave me throughout their lives. They criticized me so much all the time they were alive.
Okay, so I guess that's never going to change for you, no matter how long ago they passed, and they're no longer able to criticize you, obviously, but your feelings are so strong that that's not going to change for you.
Well, it's like a kind of punishment used in colonial times. In colonial times, drunks were branded with letter D's with hot branding irons, and the scars stayed on their foreheads for the rest of their lives, no matter even if they reformed or no matter what they did, for the rest of their lives after being branded. The average citizen would just see that D on his head and know that meant drunkard.
So you see that appearance, or a few appearances, as a scarlet letter?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I guess we can wrap it up unless you have something else to add to the 40th anniversary.
I think yes. In the mid '80s, I was accused of being a pill popper because of that revitalization pill that Underdog was made to take when he was tired out. His creators decided that he should be subject to tiring out and wearying from exerting himself on strenuous missions, but he couldn't take time out to recover his strength by resting. The crisis was such that he had to revitalize right away. That's why he took this pill, but he didn't take the pill in every story, and some people distorted the truth to make it appear that Underdog abused substances.
Okay, so that was all fake news then. That was all fake news.
That was all false. And Nancy Reagan's anti-drug crusades caused Underdog to be stopped showing in some places, or in some places where it was still shown, any footage of him taking the pill was deleted so that there was a gap in continuity.
Oh, okay. Well, I wasn't familiar with that. So Nancy Reagan caused problems for Underdog?
Yes, she did.
Okay, well, that's something new I learned today. I guess that was what, in the 80s, early 80s.
The mid 80s.
And then I guess we can compare that to the 90s, with Tipper Gore was putting explicit lyric warnings on CDs and back then cassette tapes, I guess.
Hold it. Take that a little slower. Explain that again.
Well, do you remember Tipper Gore? She kind of went crazy with the censorship of lyrics and songs, and they were censoring music.
Tipper Gore?
Yeah, Tipper Gore, Al Gore's wife.
Oh, well, I know there was an Al Gore, but I don't remember his wife doing anything.
Yeah, she went after a rap group called Two Live Crew. I don't know if you're familiar with their work.
I never bothered with rap music because there's really virtually no singing in that at all. Every song has several verses plus a refrain, but it's only the refrain where you really hear melody. With the verses, you hear only spoken words.
Yeah, I didn't think you would be a big fan of Two Live Crew, but I figure I mentioned it.
I never went in for rap music.
I understand. All right. Well, thank you, Suzanne, for another lively conversation. And then
you're welcome.
We'll speak soon. We're gonna have another one coming up in 2 weeks for a special occasion.
Well, today's Monday. What date were you thinking of?
We can figure it out. I'm still recording this, so we'll speak soon and we'll figure out a date for our next one.
Okay.
All right. Well,
okay, Boris.
All right, Suzanne. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Have a good evening. I'll talk to you soon.
Okay. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye.